It looked like Kevin Stefanski is speaking to the media after another loss. Guys,
we have to sometimes remember that these are very, very young men. People come into the NFL with different levels of maturity. These are young guys, and not all of them speak the same way. And some of them, I think, just have different personalities too. I don't think Shedeur meant any harm. Shedeur is a dynamic player. He's got a lot of personality. He has done a lot of things right here. He's worked
in a move that just sent a seismic shockwave through the entire Browns organization. Kay Cabot has just gone nuclear. And guess who is standing directly in the blast zone? Dylan Gabriel. Yeah, in the direct and brutal aftermath of that ugly Vikings loss, the poor guy has now become the human embodiment of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And now, as a direct result, Shedeur Sanders' name is suddenly being thrown around not just as an option, but as the NFL's version of a blockbuster plot twist that absolutely nobody saw coming. So what did Dylan Gabriel do to deserve this public evisceration? Or, perhaps more importantly, what did Shedeur not do? You need to buckle up, because this entire quarterback drama just officially turned cinematic.
And they get him on the field, and it doesn't go well. And I'm not going to say that it's going to go that way for Dylan, even though I have my reservations. But isn't that a lot to put on a third-round pick that's a rookie, hoping that you maybe found your franchise quarterback on a guy that a lot of people were scratching their heads that you made that pick to begin with?
It depends on the player. It all depends on the player. And I do think there is something to be said for a player who has started so many games.
The script was supposed to be tragically familiar. Just another Sunday, just another agonizing game, just another round of Minnesota-inflicted heartbreak, served with an extra bitter drizzle of Cleveland despair. But no, this one came with after-the-whistle fireworks. Because somewhere in the raw, immediate aftermath of the team's fourth quarter collapse and the hollow platitudes of the post-game press room, the deeply respected and long-suffering Kay Cabot finally, and very publicly, decided she had had enough.
hard to come up the learning curve, and this is the first time in his life and his career that he's had to be a backup. And it's difficult. He's trying to be patient, he's trying to do the right things, but it cannot be easy for him to believe that he can go out there and start football games and have to be the third string quarterback, right?
And let's be clear, this was not just a case of mild professional annoyance at a sloppy on-field performance. No, she went into a full righteous meltdown mode, the kind of raw emotional explosion that makes even the inanimate microphones in the room seem to flinch in fear. The Vikings had just lost, the locker room was completely and utterly silent, and Kay Cabot, she was out there practically rewriting the 10 Commandments for the entire Cleveland Browns organization. Only this new version of the commandments starts with one simple non-negotiable decree: thou shalt not let Dylan Gabriel touch a football again. This was not just a simple critique, this was Judgment Day, and it was being delivered by a woman with a press pass and 2 decades of pent-up frustration.
Shedeur Sanders get great news from former NFL players, and also the NFL chose to advertise Shedeur Sanders over there in London, but he ain't good enough to play for the Cleveland Browns, but you chose to advertise him in London? Oh, we finna talk about this.
The man threw what? A couple of bad passes? Maybe he missed one single open read? Perhaps a crucial drive stalled out? But if you were to ask Kay Cabot in that moment, you would think that Dylan Gabriel had just personally tanked the entire stock market and then deflated all of the footballs for good measure. She was pacing back and forth, her hands were flying through the air, and she was analyzing every single frame of that game film as if she were breaking down newly discovered alien footage. Where's the poise, she demanded. Where's the spark? But the thing is, she wasn't just asking questions, she was making declarative, damning statements.
I tell you, dog, Kevin Stefanski is back in the headlines, man, and it's for all of the wrong reasons. He's looking real spooky. A lot of people really want to see Shedeur Sanders in there at quarterback. Will we see him? As of right now, I just don't know. I can't yay or nay us seeing Shedeur. One thing I can tell you is that whenever Shedeur get his chance to go, he's going to be ready. I can almost guarantee you that. Now, Dylan Gabriel had his bout out. A lot of them flats check down passes, that ain't gonna cut it, man.
Because the Spark apparently has now packed its bags and moved all the way to Colorado with Shedeur Sanders. That is right, the very second the final whistle blew in that game, Shedeur's name popped up online as if it were trending before the loss had even officially hit the scoreboard. Suddenly, Vikings Twitter was not talking about missed tackles or about busted coverages. No, they were now talking about Shedeur, the supposed quarterback of destiny, the man who is supposed to arrive, cape fluttering, to rescue the entire state of Minnesota from its eternal purple-clad mediocrity. And Mary Kay Cabot, she was out there, leading that entire parade as if it were the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, poor Dylan Gabriel was just sitting there in the locker room, his helmet still half on, wondering how in the world he had just become the primary villain in someone else's movie. Just 1 week ago, he was promising, he was developing, he was full of potential. And now, he is replaceable, he is expendable, and he should probably start packing his bags just in case. The NFL fans may have short memories, but Mary Kay's on-air rant just gave everyone a brand new highlight reel to remember, and you could feel it, that sudden collective shift in the narrative. The post-game interviews were no longer even about the actual game anymore. They were all about what comes next, about who comes next, and about why that person's name might just happen to rhyme with Shedeur. And the funny thing, the Vikings didn't even play that badly. But logic and football fandom simply do not mix. You lose one single game and suddenly everyone is out there scouting for replacements as if they are on a new reality show called Quarterback Swap, NFL Edition. And who was leading the charge? Mary Kay Cabot. Her clipboard was out and her energy levels were set to unhinged visionary. But here is where it all gets truly hilarious, because as she is tearing into Dylan Gabriel, she is not just critiquing his throws, she is now diagnosing his vibes. She is talking about his leadership presence, his sideline energy, and his command of the offense, which, let's be honest, are all just fancy sports analyst ways of saying he didn't look cool enough while he was losing. And that is the precise moment when the comparison train hit its full, unstoppable speed.
What do you want me to really say about Dylan Gabriel over the next 3.5 hours? Well, he was composed. Great. You know how he conducted himself? He conducted himself how a career backup should conduct himself, where you just hope that you're able to hold down the fort until the regular starter comes back. The problem is, we don't have a regular starter that comes back. Well, we do, but nobody wants to see him. So nobody wants that to happen. So here we have to hope that Dylan Gabriel, a guy who is certainly limited, a guy who's smart enough to probably be a coach in the NFL someday, has to go out there and conduct an offense. And we just little bit. And we have to hope that Quinshon Judkins is able to carry us into the end zone, and we don't have a holding call on it.
But what about Shedeur Sanders, she says, or rather implies, because at this point, absolutely no one is brave enough to interrupt her. Shedeur, the very same quarterback who has been lighting up the entire world of college football like a 4th of July fireworks finale. Shedeur, whose individual social media posts get more online engagement than half the league's entire stat lines. Suddenly, this entire critique is no longer about footwork or about making the correct reads. This is now about aura, and apparently Dylan Gabriel's aura is somewhere between that of an IT intern who is on his lunch break and a guy who has just forgotten his Wi-Fi password. Meanwhile, the entire fan base is now split right down the middle. Half of them are in full and complete agreement with her assessment. They are ready to print Shedeur's name on the jerseys and to start the welcome parade immediately, and the other half, they are desperately begging for a shred of patience, arguing that Dylan needs more time, that the system is the real problem. But patience is a completely lost art in the modern NFL. And no, the game wasn't a blowout, it was close. It was painfully, agonizingly close, which somehow just makes it all even worse. It is the emotional equivalent of losing a spelling bee on the final championship deciding word, and then immediately realizing that the judge has your therapist on speed dial. The Vikings had their chances. The defense made some crucial stops. The offense at times had a real rhythm, until suddenly it didn't. And in that one single game-deciding moment, every dropped ball and every mistimed throw was immediately transformed into Exhibit A in the public case of why Shedeur should save us. So there she is, Mary Kay Cabot, completely and utterly hijacking the post-game breakdown and turning it into her own personal TED Talk.
Touchdown, and the Browns win the Super Bowl. Browns win the Super Bowl. Brown wins the Super Bowl. But in reality, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to break down this game with receipts, everything, no hate, nothing at all. We're going to be very fair. Salute to Shedeur Sanders. We've been proven correct again and again. At this point, I'm not a prophet anymore. I'm just a guy that can see past the
And here is the thing, she is not wrong about Shedeur's immense talent. The guy is absolutely electric. He is composed, he is athletic, he is confident, he is everything you could possibly want in a modern quarterback. But this is the National Football League, not a fan fiction crossover event. You cannot just swap out your quarterbacks as if you are changing your Wi-Fi network. Still, logic simply does not trend on social media. Hot takes do, and Mary Kay's take, it is absolutely sizzling. And soon enough, the entire conversation begins to snowball. The national pundits all pick it up, the on-air panels all begin to debate it, and then, inevitably, someone on national television says, Shedeur to Minnesota, with a completely straight face, and suddenly, it is all anyone is talking about. And never mind the fact that it is all based on a single rant that started over a simple third down incompletion. This is football gossip gold, and it is spreading like wildfire. Dylan Gabriel, for his part, handles all of this with as much grace as he can possibly muster, but you can tell that it stings. You go from being the rookie with potential to the placeholder until Sanders arrives in about 6 seconds flat. Every single question from the media now becomes a potential minefield. How do you feel about the comparisons? Translation, how do you feel about the entire world trying to replace you before you've even had a chance to unpack? And through it all, Mary Kay's manic energy does not fade. If anything, it only intensifies. She is now dissecting the game film, she is analyzing the body language, and she is maybe even critiquing the pre-game playlist. At this point, you half expect her to start analyzing the handshakes just to prove a point. It is like watching someone become a living, breathing meme in real time. Every single Shedeur highlight clip now becomes irrefutable evidence. Every sideline smile becomes leadership material.
Arms down the field, move the football at a high level. Can he do it? I don't believe he can. Man, it just is what it is. Now, Kevin Stefanski, like I stated, speaking to the media, right?
But for, a young player in that environment versus that defense to take care of the ball, make the plays he made, I thought was a lot of positives with plenty to clean up. And that's what he will do. And that's the mentality he has, is certainly to be a player that, continues to get better week in and week out.
And by Wednesday, there is already a fan-made mock-up of him in a purple and gold uniform circulating online, because absolutely nothing says hope like a well-executed Photoshop. Meanwhile, the professional analysts are completely torn. Some of them absolutely love the idea. They are calling it visionary, and they are saying that it is time for the Vikings to shake things up, to inject some youth, some excitement, and some swagger into their lineup. And the others, they are rolling their eyes with so much force you can practically hear it through the screen. Another college phenom, they sigh, that people think can fix an entire franchise overnight, because the NFL has seen this movie before, and it usually ends with a shell-shocked rookie running for his life behind a completely broken offensive line. But that is the rebound energy in full swing. You lose, and then you panic. By Thursday, you have got fans in the comment sections who are writing 5-paragraph, dissertation-length essays about how Shedeur Sanders perfectly fits the Vikings' offensive scheme. By Friday morning, someone has dropped a TikTok that is comparing Dylan Gabriel's pro passer rating to Shedeur's college stats, completely and conveniently ignoring the fact that those two things exist in two completely different universes. By Saturday, the local talk radio is on fire, and by Sunday, Dylan Gabriel is trending again, but only because someone has edited him into a before and after meme.
On paper, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, that sounds solid. But if you really watch the game, then you know the truth. But let me give you a little bit of snippets. Basically, the scoreboard today, ladies and gentlemen, was 21-17, and I woke up early to watch this game. A lot of you guys did it, and it's understandable. They're playing these games in London, which I'm cool with. The NFL is trying to expand their brand, much like the NBA, to turn into an international game. I've been dreaming of that, so I got no issues with that. Now, I just showed you Dylan's touchdown, but this was Dylan in warm-up getting ready for the game. Like I'm a human being, bro. When I seen this warm-up, I kind of wanted Dylan to win and do good.
And so the cycle just repeats itself. Outrage, fantasy, debate, denial, rinse and repeat. The NFL might as well just trademark the entire predictable process. And all the while, Dylan Gabriel is just trying to learn a new complex playbook while half the country is busy photoshopping him into a series of increasingly outlandish trade rumors. And Mary Kay Cabot, of course, just doubles down on her initial take. She has got that I told you so energy completely loaded up before anyone even has a chance to disagree with her. The loss hurt, sure, but the idea of Shedeur Sanders, That is her rebound. That is the hope that she is now clinging to as if it were pure, unadulterated gospel. And honestly, that is what makes this entire chaotic situation so completely and utterly hilarious. One faction of the fan base is now calling for a coaching overhaul, and right in the middle of it all, you still have Mary Kay Cabot passionately defending her quarterback crush as if it were a direct mission from the football gods themselves. And by the next week, it has all turned into something much bigger, something that is not even about the Vikings anymore. It is now about the myth of Shedeur Sanders. The guy has not even stepped foot on a professional NFL field yet, and people are already treating him like he is a franchise savior, a cultural reset, and a redemption arc, all rolled into one. It is the rebound effect in its purest, most undiluted form. When your team disappoints you, you don't process, you project. You don't heal, you hype, and Mary Kay Cabot has just given that entire predictable cycle its single most entertaining chapter yet. Because deep down, everyone in the city of Minnesota knows the truth. They will cool off, eventually. Dylan Gabriel will get another chance. The deafening noise will eventually fade, and when it finally does, people will realize what this whole unhinged rant really was. Not an evaluation, not an analysis, but a simple coping mechanism, cleverly disguised as professional commentary.
It's more funny though. The guy yelling at him to the right or the dude to the left that just can't contain himself, that just wants to interrupt. And look, y'all got mad at me for saying it yesterday. Even people in Cleveland are saying it. He did okay. He managed the game. He got them just enough. The minute that he took a chance at the end of the game, he threw a pick. He got a second chance, and then he went short. Every pass he threw wasn't even over 5.5 yards. That's safe. That's okay. That's taking no chances and relying on everybody else to do their job.
But until that inevitable cooldown finally arrives, the internet is completely lit up. The hot takes are flying in from every direction, and Shedeur Sanders is now officially living rent-free in the collective imagination of the entire Vikings fan base. Mary Kay Cabot may have gone completely off the deep end, but let's be honest, she just said out loud what half of the fan base was already thinking. And in the modern NFL, a league where every single week feels like a soap opera with shoulder pads, that might just make her the realest analyst of them all. Because in the end, this is not about Dylan, or about Shedeur, or even about the Vikings. No, this is about that one single eternal football truth. When a loss hits hard enough, reality simply does not stand a chance against the alluring power of the rebound fantasy. And that is exactly where the NFL lives, right in the beautiful, chaotic, glorious middle of it all. Within a single hour of the game ending, the fan pages are already designing mock draft graphics, and the national talk shows are now debating whether or not Shedeur should accept the challenge, as if he is being knighted into some kind of quarterback royalty. Meanwhile, poor Dylan Gabriel probably can't even go out and grab a cup of coffee without someone whispering to him about the writing on the wall. You can almost see him just thinking to himself, I lost one single game, not my entire career. But that is simply not how it works anymore, because in the rebound-obsessed world of modern NFL fandom, one single bad Sunday is more than enough to start an entire quarterback revolution.
Sanders, the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, getting good news from former NFL players. Well, the Cleveland Browns chose to go with Dylan Gabriel this weekend against the Minnesota Vikings in London. Dylan Gabriel did a decent job, but the team still lost. So by choosing Dylan Gabriel to start this game, that lets me know that Shedeur Sanders will be starting soon.
Mary Kay's now infamous rant did not just criticize him, it completely baptized the entire fan base in a glorious pool of pure, unadulterated chaos. And Shedeur, he is probably just chilling somewhere, watching all of this unfold, and sipping on some water like a man who has just accidentally started an entire revolutionary movement. He doesn't even need to say a single word. His silence is now doing all of the heavy lifting for him. Every single highlight he posts on social media is now being interpreted as a coded secret message to the state of Minnesota. Every single throw is a sign. Every single grin is a confirmation. One single loss, one single rant, and suddenly the entire league is now orbiting around a story that started with a simple raw frustration and has now completely spiraled into a full-blown prophecy. Only in the glorious, chaotic theater of the NFL could a moment of pure heartbreak be transformed into headline gold overnight. And by the time the midweek rolls around, the initial madness has now fully matured into a complete and total total spectacle. The national sports shows are now looping Shedeur Sanders' college highlights right next to a series of slow-motion clips of Dylan Gabriel missing his throws, as if they are editing some kind of dramatic tear-jerking breakup montage. You would think that these two quarterbacks were the central characters in some romantic drama, a drama that is titled, "He lost the game, she found the future." And every single time Shedeur throws a perfect effortless spiral, the on-screen caption might as well just read, "Meanwhile, in the timeline where Minnesota made the right choice."
You're going to hear the analysts, they're gonna tell you Dylan Gabriel did a great job. He handled the team well, and those of us that watch the game, we're not gonna knock his back end, but we are gonna tell the truth. Dylan Gabriel did exactly what he was told to do. Now, whether or not you think that was good or not, that's left to see. But what we can tell you is that the stats don't lie. They don't have opinions. They either are or they aren't. Dylan Gabriel was 19 for 33 in terms of complete.
Mary Kay Cabot's now infamous rant is no longer just a rant, it has officially been canonized as football scripture. The clips of her impassioned frustration are now being meticulously stitched into 1,000 different TikToks, all of them set to dramatic world-ending music and punctuated by a series of flashing urgent headlines. Cabot was right. The Vikings need Shedeur now. End the Dylan era. Meanwhile, sports talk radio has devolved into a full-scale citywide meltdown. And Dylan Gabriel, bless his soul, is still trying his best to be a professional through all of this. He is saying all the right things in his press conferences. He is staying focused, working harder, and blocking out the noise. But how, exactly, do you block out an entire internet that is now actively and loudly rooting for your replacement? At this point, the man could throw a perfect 70-yard game-winning touchdown tomorrow, and some anonymous troll in the comments would still say, Shedeur would have made it look cleaner. He is no longer just fighting opposing defenders on the field, he is now fighting the ghost of perception. Meanwhile, Mary Kay Cabot has doubled down so hard on her initial take that it has now evolved into a form of performance art. She's got the stats, she's got the timelines, and she even has a hypothetical Shedeur transition plan all ready to go. This is no longer just simple reporting, this has become a full-blown prophecy.
Kevin Stefanski has elected to go with Dylan Gabriel at perhaps one of the worst matchups on the schedule. I'm sitting here watching the news and a lot of people are talking about, oh, it's Kevin Stefanski, he trusts Dylan Gabriel. If he was smart and he didn't want to ruin this rookie's chance of being any credible starter in the league whatsoever, going up against a Brian Flores defense is head-scratching to me. It's like Minnesota is at the top of the league for overall sacks. They get pressure like nobody's business.
And the fans, they are absolutely eating it all up. Some of them are now treating Mary Kay Cabot as if she is the one who is leading a revolution, and the others, they think she has lost her mind completely. But the one single undeniable fact is that everyone is talking, and in the modern NFL, that is the only thing that truly matters, because in this league, attention is oxygen, and right now, this entire chaotic saga is breathing just fine. And then, as if fate itself wants to personally tease everyone who is watching this unfold, Shedeur Sanders posts a simple Instagram story of himself, just working out in a pair of Vikings-colored sneakers. That is it. There is no caption. There is no comment. It is just a simple workout clip, and at that point, Dylan Gabriel could literally cure the fumbles. He could go out and win 2 straight games, and it would not matter in the slightest, because Shedeur's sneakers have just completely and utterly broken the internet. It is ridiculous. It is dramatic. It is perfectly beautifully NFL. And Mary Kay Cabot, she is sitting somewhere, just scrolling through all of this self-created chaos, feeling quietly and completely vindicated, because whether she actually meant to or not, she has just single-handedly turned one single solitary Vikings loss into the single most entertaining quarterback debate of the entire season, and there is absolutely no coming back from that.